director and curator, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to the Artist Talk for the View from Here, Contemporary Perspectives from Senegal. This exhibition is curated by a Stony Brook alumnus, Joseph Underwood, who got his PhD here under the direction of Professor Barbara Frame in 2017 and is now a professor at Kent State University. And this exhibition opened in Dakar, Senegal, and traveled to 2 universities before coming here to Stony Brook. So we're very pleased that you could be here for this. So the exhibition itself, before I introduce the speakers, the exhibition itself presents 11 artists with unique perspectives from Senegal. And I wanted to thank the co-sponsor of this talk, the Humanities Institute of Stony Brook, very much, as well as our other supporters, including the Paul W. Zuccher Foundation, the Stony Brook Presidential Mini Grant for Diversity Initiatives, and the Stony Brook Alumni Association. I am very honored to introduce today's speaker. We have photographer Laylah Amatullah Barrayn, whose beautiful photographs you see here on this wall, and she's in dialogue with Professor Abena Asare from the African Studies Department. Some brief bios on each of them and then let them talk. We'll start with Professor Asare. Dr. Abena Ampofoa Asare is Associate Professor of Africana Studies and History at Stony Brook. Her research and writing span questions of human rights, citizenship, and transformative justice in Africa and the African diaspora. She's the author of Truth Without Reconciliation, A Human Rights History of Ghana. And this was named a 2018 Outstanding Academic Title by American Library Association Choice Magazine. Her work can be found in the Radical Teacher, International Journal of Crime, Justice, and Social Democracy, African Arguments, and Foreign Policy in Focus, among other places. She was recently a scholar in residence at the New York Public Library Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. Laylah Amatullah Barrayn is a documentary photographer based in New York City. Her work has been supported with grants and fellowships from the International Women's Media Foundation, Columbia University Institute for Research in African American Studies, and the Research Foundation of the City University of New York. She is a 4-time recipient of the Community Arts Grant from the Brooklyn Arts Council. Brick Arts selected her as a 2015 Media Arts Fellow, where she produced her first experimental short, Sunu Fall. The Lucy Foundation included Barrayn on the shortlist for the 2016 Photo Taken Emerging Photographer Prize. She's a 2018 Enfoco Photography Fellow, and we will have her work back here for an exhibition of Enfoco Fellows in a couple years. Her projects have appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, BBC, OK Africa, Vogue, PDN, CBS, Quartz Africa, among other publications. She has curated exhibitions at the Brooklyn Historical Society, the Brooklyn Public Library, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, as well as galleries in non-traditional spaces, and has given talks on her photography at Yale University, Harvard University, the International Center of Photography, Tate Modern, New York University, Howard University, the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. And her work has been exhibited internationally and has been published in the Smithsonian-produced anthology, Black, A Celebration of Culture. Her latest project on the Baye Fall Sufi Order of Senegal was exhibited at Galleria Biagiotti in Florence, Italy, and the Museum of Contemporary African Diasporan Arts. She is recently an artist in residence at the Wa Center for Art and Design in Saint Louis, Senegal. She is currently a member of Kamunge, a pioneering collective of African American photographers founded in 1963. And she is the co-author of MoFon, Women Photographers of the African Diaspora. So please welcome our 2 speakers today.
It's just muted.
Okay. Should be on. Yes, if you don't mind. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
So, hello everybody. It's such a pleasure to be here, especially to be in this discussion with Laylah. I would first like to just take a moment to acknowledge that this exhibit and this institution, this discussion that we are about to begin is occurring on land which is stolen, We are at an institution, at a place which was built on the labor of enslaved persons. We are living in a week right now in which the highest court of the land is trying to decide on whether everybody should have a right to feed their family, whether all people should have a right to work, irregardless of who they love or what their gender identity is. I bring all of these things up because I believe, Laylah, that it is relevant to your work and to this discussion that we are having. Your photos are stunning. And I think that one of the things that really struck me as I sat with them for a while is this sense of the complexity and beauty of the human experience, of the everyday human experience. So I was wondering if, just as a way to start, if you could tell us the story of some of these photos, of how they came to be in this exhibition, of how we have come to this place. Now, as I say this, I'm from Ghana, and among the things that we do whenever we meet is you tell the story of how you got to be here first, right? So this is what I'm asking. Can you just please tell us a little bit about how you came here today?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me at Stony Brook University. I don't often have a chance to come out to Long Island, so I'm very happy to be here. My name is Laylah Amatullah Barrayn, and as I was introduced by Karen, I'm a photojournalist and a documentary photographer, editor, curator. So how did I get to be here? And I think I'd like to start with the ideas that I was told as a child about the African continent. And so, interesting enough, I grew up in the 80s in Brownsville, Brooklyn, and everything around me supported the idea of Afrocentricity. I grew up with an extremely positive view of the African continent, and I think that the ideas of I witnessed the ideas of Pan-Africanism, this collaboration throughout the diaspora, that was infused very much in popular culture. It was infused very much in hip hop, which I listened to. And so I was very excited to understand and believe that I came from kings and queens, which was fine for me as a kid. That was wonderful, it was positive. And so when I got older, and also one of the other things that was interesting that I witnessed as growing up was the literature that was around me, the writers, the dialogue between different thinkers and theorists and novelists who were African American and who were also from the diaspora. Those names were always around me because in Harlem, for example, there were many street vendors who would sell the books. And so those things were always around me. So I always had a very positive view of the African diaspora, and I was always told that I was a part of that. And so when I got the opportunity to visit the continent for the first time back in 1999, I was 19 years old, I jumped at the chance. I said, wow, this is great. I get to now see for myself what it meant to be part of the diaspora, to be part of the continent. And the first place I was offered to go was Senegal, of course. And so was very excited. For many reasons, of course, and one of the reasons I was excited was that I am Muslim, and I grew up in Brooklyn, and spent much time in Harlem, and there was a huge African population that I interacted with through religion. So growing up, I interacted with a lot of Senegalese, Ghanaian, Guinea, people from Guinea, people from Mali, but in this context of being in New York City. So now I was getting the opportunity to go to study at the University of Cheikh Anta Diop in Dakar and have these conversations about the ideas and the scholarship and the literature that I had access to in the States, but then I was having this opportunity to go discuss it in the University of the great scholar Cheikh Anta Diop. And so that's how I got to Senegal. And so when I got there, I wanted to, of course, understand. I asked a lot of questions. I did a lot of inquiry through my photography. So I had my camera with me always. And it was always film at the time. There was no option to do anything digitally, which was really interesting. And so what I would do is, I made a lot of friends, of course, in my classes because there were lots of discussions on Frantz Fanon and Amy Césaire, and these were discussions that were different. There were different points being made in those classes. And that was fascinating to me. And so, outside of class, I would have my camera and I would make friends and I would make these photographs that would speak to my memory. I wanted to remember, I wanted to ask questions, I wanted to kind of dig into what I was seeing and what I was hearing, what I was experiencing. And then one part that I really love with making photographs in Senegal, and the analog part of it, is that every morning I would take my film and I would go to the shop to develop my film, and everyone in there were the other photographers. There were the journalists in there were the wedding photographers. There were other people who were in that photo shop waiting for the film who spoke my language. So we would have these other conversations about photography, about Dakar, about Senegal and the culture and the religion. And so that was another huge resource for me too. Being in the classroom, having discussions about the literature that was happening, and then having discussions about image makers who were also doing the same thing that I was doing, kind of, sort of. But, so that was in 1999. And after that, my program was over. I stayed in Senegal. I had a little bit of money, because actually when I got a chance to go to Senegal, my family was really excited for me. So they threw this big cookout, and they charged everybody like $7 a plate, and they gave me all the money. And everybody was really excited. So everyone came to this party because, what it meant was that I was going back to the continent, and I was the first one. So even my neighbors, they all kind of chipped in so that I could have the optimal experience in Senegal and Dakar. So I went there and I had some of that money left over, and I got a little grant from CUNY. Okay. So and then the rate was really great. The safe was amazing. So I was really living like I was Jay-Z out there. And so I was really seriously. And so afterwards I stayed and I went to Monaco. And I went to Marrakesh, and I tried to go to Nouakchott, but I needed a visa. That was one of the little mishaps. You need a visa, you can't just go anywhere for that. And so I kind of went I traveled around the region a lot because I wanted to know. And I had my camera, and I was making photographs, and I was taking pictures, and developing them, printing them, and sharing them, and asking questions, and being in dialogue. But I would usually have a photo with my friends, in the middle of us, and we would discuss it. What does this mean? What came before it? What was the history of what was happening? And all of that. So a lot of my discussions were based off of the photographs I was taking. Okay. And I know you asked me about these photographs. So these are photographs that I've taken throughout the years, being in various cities in Senegal. I don't think any of these are in Dakar, which is interesting. And the curator, Joseph, he did a really great job with this show. I really loved the show, and I actually saw it in Dakar. But these all have stories, obviously. And I was saying earlier that only 2 of these pictures I intended to show in public, our exhibit. I only intended to exhibit 2 of these photographs, and those are the 2 photographs at the end. Because they were part of a series that I was working on about the Marids, the Baye Fall. And the smaller group of the Marids were the Baye Fall. The rest of the photographs were all of these moments that I was having in Senegal that I wanted to kind of interrogate and remember. And some of them were really lighthearted moments and funny, And I was just like, okay, It's like, for instance, this photograph.
Yes.
I was in Dakar. I was in Dakar. Then I went to Saint-Louis, which is a city in the north of Senegal. It used to be the former colonial capital of what's now Senegal and Mauritania. And I wanted to go to Podor because I had the opportunity to go. And also there was a Senegalese photographer, Umar Lee, who had just passed away. And I was very interested in visiting his studio to speak to everyone who was still there and to look at some of the photographs and have a discussion about photography, about who Umar Lee was, kind of look at his archive, and visit the town. I had never been that further up in Senegal. So I went there, had these conversations. I went further in to the interior, just kind of hanging out, talking to people, introducing myself. And I saw this gentleman, and he was the only herder who had on a headdress that was pink and blue. The only one. Everyone else's headdress was earth tone color. Blue, not blue, but like a brown, or white, or black. You know, very dark colors. He stood out very much so. So I went over to him, I introduced myself, you know, I'm here visiting. I really love the way you look. Can I take your photograph? And he said, no, you can't take my photograph. I said, oh man, but you look gorgeous. And he said, nah, you can't take it. I said, okay, you know what, it's fine. You know, I've been in this situation, you don't want me to take your photograph, it's really okay. So I walked away, I walked a few steps away, and there was this beautiful woman. She had the most intricate hairstyles, braids, and you know, Senegalese, they do braids, they know how to do braids. But her braids were exceptional. And I said, oh my God, you are gorgeous. I really love your braids. Let's talk about your braids. And she was telling me about them. She was going to a wedding, and then her cousin did them, all of these things. And I said, you know, can I take a picture? Can I make a picture of your braids? And she said, sure, please. And so she started modeling for me and just showing off everything. And this guy was standing there looking like, huh. And so he came up to me. He said, you know, can you make my photo? I said, okay. And so this is his friend laughing at him because his friend witnessed the whole thing. Like, you know, at first you didn't want anyone to make a photograph of you. And now you just changed your mind because you saw, you know, what the experience is like. And so that was, you know, that's really just a lighthearted moment of, you know, just something I experienced in a town. And actually people told me not to go that further up in Senegal because, you know, there was some activity because it was close to the border of Mali and close to the border of Mauritania. You might not want to go there because of the, you know, I guess terrorists, I don't know, you know, activity. And so I went, and that's the picture I came home with. You know, and that's a story that I'm sharing with people. You know, I didn't get kidnapped, nothing happened to me, but I made friends and I made photographs. And I made photographs of beautiful herders with pink and blue head wraps. You know. And so that's just, you know, that's something, and you know, it was just for me. You know, I made that photograph. I intended to go home and print it out and put it in my album because I do print out my work and I put them in my album book. And when people come over, we discuss photographs. And when you come to my house, we're always discussing photos all the time. And so that's just one of my photographs. This photograph here is also in Saint Louis. I went to Saint Louis in 2016 with the intention of finding the grave of Batman Siki. And Batman Siki was the first world champion boxer from Saint Louis. And he lived in the early 1900s. And he rose to fame in Europe. I think he was lightweight, world champion boxer, famous person, famous Senegalese man, the first black man to reach this status. So he boxed in France and he boxed in Belgium. And then he got into a bit of trouble. So he came to New York. He did a bit of boxing there too. And what the story is told that he was shot by a cop on 40th Street and like 12th Avenue, so like Times Square. So he was said to be shot by a cop, or the alternative story is that he was in some gambling, you know, issue, and then somebody, you know, sought revenge. So those are the two stories about this Senegalese boxer that was shot in New York City. And he was buried in New York City in 1925 in Queens. And I was very interested in that. So someone told me that in 1990, actually, I think it was the UN had put some money together to have his body, his remains brought back to San Luis. And so I said, that's really interesting. I want to find where he's buried. I'm interested in this. You know, so, I mean, it probably took me maybe 5 weeks to find his gravesite. I went to every gravesite. I went to every cemetery in San Luis, the Christian one, the Muslim one, everywhere. And every day I would pass this mosque. And it was always colorful. The mosque was already colorful anyway. But it was always, you know, the neighbors kind of sitting around. I would say hello and talk. And sometimes I would go in there and pray too if it was time to do so. And one day I went by, said hello, and I made a photograph. You know, so sometimes it's just me, you know, in these moments wanting to remember that this is a place that I passed by on my way looking for the burial site of that Lindsay, which I did find. One day I was about to give up, and I asked my friend's cousins, he has some teenage cousins, I said, hey, look, you know, let's go through this one cemetery one more time, I'll pay you. Come with me, and we're gonna go through everyone's gravesite and find it. And we went through we had to dust off sand, and we were looking, and all of these things. And the last gravesite, we dust off the name, and it was back in CP's gravesite. And you would have never, ever known, because it was way, the cemetery's on the beach, and it was way at the end. It was probably the last gravesite, and it was covered with sand. And you would have had known that this is a world champion boxer. This is the son of San Luis, you know. And so that's kind of the history behind this photograph. So, you know, these are moments, and I, like I said, just took this photograph, made this photograph, just to remember that moment. That was my kind of routine to go through this neighborhood, to go visit Dar on my search for that Lindsay.
Wonderful. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of those stories. I love the intimacy involved in your journey on all of these different aspects. I'd like to call attention to the friends and household cookout that helped to fund your first trip there, which is just so special to kind of think about the sense of your journey beginning in this way, through the collective and through love, and through people seeing the importance of this trip, not just for you, but for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that sense of intimacy is among the things which is so striking about these photos and lots of your work, actually. It is really clear that you have relationships with these places and then with these people. As I hear you speaking about making these photos for memory, as an act of memory for you, I'm struck by the question of, is there a tension there for you when you make these photos for these reasons which are so intimate and personal and which are clear when we look at them? And then there's the whole other aspect of your life, which is that you are a well-known artist. And then these pictures are then shown and consumed in a range of different spaces by a range of different people and audiences. Is there any tension there for you? How do you think about the afterlife of your artwork beyond the moment that you make it, in terms of where it goes and how it's seen and consumed beyond that moment?
That's an interesting question. Because of Instagram, you know, right? And so I have posted some of these, I have shared some of these. I'm always careful because I like to be in conversation I like to, be in conversation. I like to ask questions. I like for people to be in dialogue with the photos that I've made. And so I am careful how I share the work. I like to share it in venues like this, because here and now we're in conversation. conversation. On Instagram too, you know, people make comments, but you're not there, and they don't know me. They don't know they have no idea. You know, and then people are traveling, they're making photographs, and you don't know why.
Yeah.
And so, let me think about that. I don't know. Can you say
Yes,
more?
sure.
Yeah.
I would love to say more, Layla. I think that this is one of the things that strikes me as a person who does teach and also writes about Africa.
Sure.
Specifically, when you write or portray or speak about a place which has been so stigmatized and whose image, especially in the Western world, comes with so much ignorance attached to it.
Sure.
There is both, I think, a joy in being able to represent something different. And I think a range of artists and scholars have also talked about a particular risk there. The risk of your image as it's being consumed and used by folks who have a particular agenda, right? Or who can only access these images through one lens about Africa, right? And there's this thing about an image which is open to interpretation. So how, is that helpful?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking about it because
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how people may view me, you know, and how I view myself. Like, okay, some people may know who I am,
Right.
and some people may have seen my images, but I have to think about how far-reaching these particular images have been.
Okay.
You know, I'm not sure, but I know what you're talking about, and I've seen it with other images. You know, for example, when the Bring Back the Girls campaign. So a colleague of mine made a photograph in, I believe it was Sierra Leone or Liberia. It was for something completely different, but it was a portrait, and it was of a girl who was somewhere, and it had nothing to do, obviously, with Nigeria or any of the activity that was happening there. But that photograph became the face of Bring Back the Girls campaign. And so that photograph is very much misrepresented in the news, in a crisis situation, as just, you know, here is a girl, she looks like she's in Africa, so that must mean that she's a part of, you know, what is happening in a completely different country. And I think that happens with news images, you know, so when you're making photographs for the news, you know, which has a wider circulation and can then be more misrepresented in cases like that, you know, and so that happened. So, which is why, you know, when I am sharing my images, I like to be very close to them. And so when I am putting out images, I'm careful about that. And I try to be close, and I try to be in conversation with whoever I'm collaborating with, editors, curators, about how it'll be presented, and I guess the different ways that it'll be engaged too. So, you know, those two images at the end, you know, very much intending to show these images because I was doing a series on Sufism in West Africa, in Senegal specifically. And that last image is on a pilgrimage that I took. And so that pilgrimage was for Baye Fall, and she was a saint. And I like the idea of an African woman as saint, from the African woman from the continent as a saint. That's not a conversation that we have. That's not a conversation that I've had. So that's why I took that images, I made that image, and that's why I included it, and I wanted to have that disseminated because I wanted to have that conversation be more, I wanted that conversation to be had more often, right? You know, Laylah Amatullah, Senegalese woman who is also a saint, who is also an Islamic scholar and saint, you know. And so that is something I was intentional about. These are other images, like I said,